Our opening words are our chalice lighting words this morning. Even as days grow shorter, our homes feel smaller, our wicks burn lower, and our will flickers. We light this chalice to kindle a flame of warmth as a reminder of the connection that draws us to community, that opens us up. In gratitude for the breath in our lungs, the love in our hearts, and the gift of this day, alive. And at this time of year, we also have a tradition here at First Parish in Bedford of lighting candles and an Advent wreath. This practice comes from the Christian tradition in which this season is a season of expectant waiting. And the second Sunday of Advent is a Sunday where we light a candle for peace, something for which so many are expectantly waiting, are all around the world. I invite you to join me in a responsive reading in which your response is very simple. It is, "We are waiting." It might appear on the screen or not. Either way is good. So this reading comes from Leslie Takahashi. This is the season of anticipation, of expecting, of hoping, of wanting. This is the time of expecting the arrival of something or someone. We are waiting. This is the time of living in darkness, in the hues of unknowing, of being quiet, of reflecting on a year almost past, waiting for a new beginning, for a closing or an end. This is the time for digesting the lessons of days gone past, anticipating the future for which we are waiting. Waiting for a world which can know justice. Waiting for a lasting peace. Waiting for the bridge to span the divides which separate us. Waiting for a promise or a hope. For all of this, we are waiting. Thank you, and I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to join in our opening hymn. It's number 128 in your gray or cloth-bound hymnal, or words will appear on the screen. It's "For All That Is Our Life."
Welcome to First Parish in Bedford, a Unitarian Universalist congregation where we come together every week as a people with diverse beliefs and a shared commitment to bring more peace, more love, more justice, and more joy into the world. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you worship one God, many gods, or no God, you are welcome here. I want to say a special welcome to all of our visitors this morning in person and on Zoom. We are glad you are with us here today. Here in the sanctuary, you are invited to fill out a blue connection card, which you will find at the end of the pews. You can give that to one of the ushers during the collection, and we will add you to our mailing list. In Zoom, we will put a link in the chat to a form you can also fill out as your virtual blue connection card. Parents and caregivers of little ones, there is a nursery available downstairs for your convenience, but we are always delighted to have little ones here in the sanctuary or upstairs as well. After the service, everyone is welcome to join us for coffee, tea, and fellowship in the common room. And we do have some announcements today. Next Saturday, December 13th, is the Christmas with the Back Bay Ringers concert. Please see the flyer in your order of service for more details and consider joining this festive music event. Another thing happening this coming Saturday is the Cookie Express, where we distribute cookie care packages to beloved members who have a hard time making it to church in person or have had a loss in their family. We will be packaging these up on Saturday, and we need more drivers. You don't need to deliver the packages on Saturday. You can pick a time that works for you. Please sign up for Cookie Express and talk to Liz Connors if you have any questions. On Monday, December 22nd, there will be a youth alumni gathering here at First Parish in the evening. So after Dot Ellis's memorial service, if you participated in our youth programs in the past decade or so and are now a young adult or have some such person in your household, save the date, pass along the information, more coming via email from Reverend Annie. So those are our announcements. So if you will now please rise in body or in spirit, we will share in our unison affirmation, which is in your order of service and on the screen here as well. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en espíritu de amor, y hermanos los unos a los otros.
Okay. These are new glasses. I'm still adjusting to them, so I apologize if I misread. Today's story is titled Ugh Socks. Ooh, socks! Once upon a holiday morning, 8-year-old Jamie shot out of bed like a rocket. Today was the day Jamie hoped for to finally unwrap the Mega Turbo Lightning Racer 5000, a toy so fancy, expensive, and unnecessarily dramatic that it came with its own theme music. Dun, dun, dun! Jamie had been dropping hints for months. Subtle hints like, life is hard without a Mega Turbo Lightning Racer 5000, and the doctor says I need one. Probably. So with hope bursting out of his ears, Jamie tore into the first present. It was soft. Suspiciously soft. Soft enough to be disappointing. And inside was... Yes, big, fuzzy, blueberry-colored socks. Were they blue? Were they purple? No one knew. Everyone else went on opening gifts while Jamie stared at the socks with intensity of someone questioning all past choices. These can't do anything, Jamie muttered. They can't zoom. They can't zip. They don't light up. They definitely can't fire off confetti. But because there was nothing else to unwrap at the time, and Jamie was still waiting, he slid on the socks. one by one. The socks, they were warm. So warm, Jamie wondered if someone put them in the microwave before wrapping. Then Jamie stood up and discovered something magical I think we all know about. When you have a wood floor and woolly socks, you can make the greatest slides of your life. Jamie zipped across the hallway like he was in risky business. Jamie spun, he twirled, and executed a new move called the Wobble Noodle Disaster, which almost knocked over a lamp. And sure, the socks couldn't transform into a robot like the Mega Turbo Lightning Racer 5000, but they could make sliding a superpower. They could warm Jamie's toes like little tiny campfires, and they could make the dog sprint after him with wild, sock-obsessed enthusiasm. And somehow that felt wonderful. Just then, Grandma cleared her throat. Ahem, little Jamie, you might want to check behind the tree for your next gift. Jamie sat up from his latest wipeout. And in the corner was a large box, a box that hummed with possibility, a box the exact size and shape of the Mega Turbo Lightning Racer 5000. Everyone froze, waiting for Jamie to explode with joy. Jamie wiggled his toes inside his fuzzy socks and grinned. I think I'm going to slide down the hallway again. Maybe later, Grandma. Off Jamie zoomed, dog in hot pursuit, socks squeaking against the floor. Sometimes you don't need the thing you hoped for, but find something worth exploring right now. And now let us sing the children to class.
Hello? Yeah, there we go. I'm Liz Connors, a member of the lay pastoral care team here at First Parish. And this is the time in our service when you're invited to light a candle of joy or hope or concern. Please keep your comments brief and personal if possible. Next, we'll go to Zoom, and I will be at the candle stand after the service if someone would like to light a candle in private. Okay, I'm going to light this last candle for the joys, concerns, and sorrows we hold in our heart, and I will be at the candle stand at the end of the service if anyone would like to light a candle in private.
We arrive in this congregation holding so many things, and we also arrive with great care for the world. And so on the first Sunday of each month, we share the plate. That is, we share our morning offering with an organization that shares our values, selected by our Social Responsibility Council. And this morning, I'm happy to introduce to you Liz Rust, who is here on behalf of the Concord Prison Outreach and will tell you more about that organization.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Liz Rust. I'm the board chair of Concord Prison Outreach, who is the honored recipient of your Share the Plate today. I'm also a longtime UU and worship in Concord at the UU Church in Concord. Since its founding in 1968, so long ago, CPO has served as a guiding light for incarcerated individuals and their families, offering programs that foster education, personal growth, and meaningful connection. We are rooted in the belief that every person has value and potential. CPO has empowered our generations to rebuild family bonds, acquire new skills, embrace opportunities for transformation. Through hands-on family initiatives, fatherhood programs, and restorative justice work, CPO has cultivated healing, resilience, and hope, creating a vibrant community dedicated to change and celebrating every success. CPO is led by formerly incarcerated people, including myself. We do our work in 9 different prisons and jails, and I help facilitate programs in 3 of them on a weekly basis. And through this work, I see firsthand the positive impact that we're making. On a system-wide level, the Department of Correction confirms this. The current recidivism rate is 28%, and this reduces by over 2/3 to 8% for those involved with programs and education. So this work works. Turning to today's worship theme, the message is about gifts and hope and its mixed bag of stress and joy. And this is so true. The need around us pulls at our heart, and all that is transpiring in our work today, the call to amplify hope and justice is loud and critical. We hold sacred that every individual's dignity matters and no one should be forgotten. We come together as individuals and congregations to uphold our UU values, and I did bring one of the latest Love at the Center UU value, bringing forward hope in our collective strength. At any moment, millions of people are held in correctional facilities, too often forgotten and overlooked. And in this holiday season, we can show up to affirm their humanity and shine a light, inspiring hope, compassion, and solidarity. For nearly 40 years, Concord Prison Outreach has distributed over 20,000 holiday gift bags, aimed to ensure that incarcerated people are not forgotten, especially at a time when separation from loved ones can only be more challenging. For many recipients, this is the only gift that they'll receive. Our effort this year includes a 60% expansion to include the 1,200 men at the maximum security prison at Sousa Baranowski on the Shirley campus, giving rise to our theme, leaving no one behind. An inmate recently shared, "What you do for everyone is a great thing and is helpful and caring for all who are incarcerated here. It really boosts the spirits for all who are here, and we feel blessed and honored to have folks who care about us, the invisible population." This is where the joy comes in, boosting spirits to people around us, showing that we see you. You are not alone. Lifting spirits, this is the beacon of joy in these dark times. And we invite you this morning and throughout the whole season to bring light and love to the incarcerated individuals, helping us leave no one behind. I'll be at coffee hour to talk more, to share more of our programs. Thank you so much for your generosity. We can't do this work without your help. The offering will now be collected and gratefully received.
This excerpt is from a David Sedaris essay titled 6 to 8 Black Men, from Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim. When I'm traveling in Europe, my first question usually relates to barnyard animals. What do roosters say is a good icebreaker, as every country has its own unique interpretation. In Germany, where dogs bark "vow, vow," and both the frog and the duck say quack, the rooster greets the dawn with a hearty kikariki. Greek roosters crow kiraki, and in France they scream kukuriki, which sounds like one of those horrible pre-mixed cocktails with a pirate on the label. When told that an American rooster says cock-a-doodle-doo, my hosts look at me with disbelief and pity. When do you open your Christmas presents is another good conversation starter, as it explains a lot about national character. People who traditionally open gifts on Christmas Eve seem a bit more pious and family-oriented than those who wait until Christmas morning. They go to Mass, open presents, eat a late meal, return to church the following morning, and devote the rest of the day to eating another big meal. Gifts are generally reserved for children, and the parents tend not to go overboard. It's nothing I'd want for myself, but I suppose it's fine for those who prefer food and family to things of real value. In France and Germany, gifts are exchanged on Christmas Eve, while in Holland, the children receive presents on December 5th in celebration of St. Nicholas Day. It sounded sort of quaint until I spoke to a man named Oscar, who filled me in on a few of the details as we walked from my hotel to the Amsterdam train station. Unlike the jolly, obese American Santa, St. Nicholas is painfully thin and dresses not unlike the Pope, topping his robes with a tall hat resembling an embroidered tea cozy. The outfit, I was told, is a carryover from his former career when he served as a bishop in Turkey. Now, one doesn't want to be too much of a cultural chauvinist, but this seemed completely wrong to me. For starters, Santa didn't used to do anything. He's not retired, and more importantly, he has nothing to do with Turkey. The climate's all wrong, and the people wouldn't appreciate him. When asked how he got from Turkey to the North Pole, Oscar told me with complete conviction that St. Nicholas currently resides in Spain, which again is simply not true. While he could probably live wherever he wanted, Santa chose the North Pole specifically because it is harsh and isolated. No one can spy on him, and he doesn't have to worry about people coming to the door. Anyone can come to the door in Spain, and in that outfit, he'd most certainly be recognized. Well, our Santa flies on a sled. St. Nicholas arrives by boat and then transfers to a white horse. The event is televised, and great crowds gather at the waterfront to greet him. I'm not sure if there's a set date, but he generally docks in late November and spends a few weeks hanging out and asking people what they want. Does he have any elves? Maybe I'm just overly sensitive, but I couldn't help but feel personally insulted when Oscar denounced the very idea as grotesque and unrealistic. Elves, he said, they're just so silly. The words silly and unrealistic were redefined when I learned that St. Nicholas travels with what was consistently described as 6 to 8 black men. I asked several Dutch people to narrow it down, but none of them could give me an exact number. It was always 6 to 8, which seems strange, seeing as they've had hundreds of years to get a decent count. The 6 to 8 black men were characterized as personal slaves until the mid-50s, when the political climate changed and it was decided that instead of being slaves, they were just good friends. I think history has proven that there's something usually comes between slavery and friendship, a period of time marked not by cookies and quiet times by the fire, but by bloodshed and mutual hostility. As an insight, not something that Sedaris wrote, but in searching for images of the Dutch St. Nicholas, Reverend Annie discovered that helpers seem to be wearing blackface, which adds a whole another layer of racism to the whole situation. In the early years, if a child was naughty, St. Nicholas and the 6 to 8 black men would beat him with what Oscar described as the small branch of a tree. A switch? Yes, he said, that's it. They'd kick him and beat him with a switch. Then, if the youngster was really bad, they'd put him in a sack and take him back to Spain. St. Nicholas would kick you? Well, Not anymore, Oscar said. Now he just pretends to kick you. He considered this to be progressive, but in a way I think it's almost more perverse than the original punishment. I'm going to hurt you, but not really. What kind of Santa spends his time pretending to kick people before stuffing them into a canvas sack? Well, 8 flying reindeer are a hard pill to swallow. Our Christmas story remains relatively simple. Santa lives with his wife in a remote polar village and spends one night a year traveling around the world. If you're bad, he leaves you cold. If you're good and live in America, he'll give you just about anything you want. We tell our children to be good and send them off to bed where they lie awake anticipating their great bounty. A Dutch parent has a decidedly hairier story to relate, telling his children, listen, you might want to pack a few of your things together before you go to bed. The former bishop from Turkey will be coming along with 6 to 8 black men. They might put you some candy in your shoes. They might stuff you in a sack and take you to Spain, or they might just pretend to kick you. We don't know for sure. We just want you to be prepared.
Growing up, listening to that particular David Sedaris story was a family tradition. And while not every part of it ages well, as is true of much of Sedaris' writing, it is pretty hilarious. So I do recommend listening to the full audio Sedaris version if you enjoy that kind of content. Another family tradition in my house was putting our Christmas mornings on a tape recorder. And so it meant that my brother and I would wake up and then we'd wait in our rooms while my dad got the tape into the big, heavy VHS camcorder and got it all prepared to capture the moment. Some of you are nodding. You may also have had experiences with this. And I remember many wonderful Christmas mornings of rushing out and being very excited. But one that particularly stands out in my mind, it was maybe 1997. And my brother and I got these packages that looked like they were the size and shape of a CD, so, thinking, okay, some new CDs to listen to. And we opened them, and then we looked at each other like, oh God, our parents are so dumb. These are computer games, we told them. What are we supposed to do with computer games? We don't have a computer. Our parents advised that we look downstairs in the basement, at which point our eyes got very big and we ran down the carpeted stairs as fast as we could to see that there was indeed now a desktop PC in our basement. What a moment. What incredible possibility. What new worlds awaited us. It was that feeling when you got something you didn't even think you could have. I remember that was also how I felt in 2008. I remember very specifically that same feeling when I was sitting on the couch and my college roommate and I screamed at the exact same time when we heard on the news that Obama was declared as the next president of the United States. In hindsight, it's easy to sort of shake my head and say, well, I had no idea, which is true. I had no idea what computer technology would do to our society for better and for worse, and I certainly had no idea what our political trajectory would be after that incredibly hopeful night in 2008. Now I've certainly found whole new depths of cynicism about our country beyond what I ever thought possible. Now, hope usually seems like an absurd idea because we are certifiably the worst. Which is one reason that I like this story from Sedaris. It, is just one thing we can at least feel sort of good about. At least our Santa Claus isn't, as far as I know, particularly racist. There's no blackface involved, and while there is an amusing story by the Bare Naked Ladies about Santa's elves organizing for their labor rights and implying that they are held in unfair working conditions, at least, the coal, while disheartening, is not as bad as violence or even pretend violence, and certainly better than abduction. So on the whole, I feel like, wow, that story makes me feel kind of good about being American. which is not something I feel very often. And it's true in general that sometimes when we're in despair, it can help to have a little outside perspective. I've found that lately because our household has acquired a temporary French roommate who has a one-year fellowship working at Harvard on his PhD work in philosophy. And we have a lot of different cultural exchanges, and a lot of the time they do just confirm my feelings of despair and horror at what goes on in our country, because he will be very shocked and upset when he learns about things like the American healthcare system, American policing practices, or how American school boards have been recently taken over by right-wingers in many places who are opposed to teaching historical facts. He was particularly upset about that one, I think, because of the education. But as we were discussing schools, actually, I found a point of pride and satisfaction that I wasn't anticipating. We were talking about extracurriculars. And he was explaining that he thought it was so wonderful that American children do all these different kinds of activities, and that his nieces and nephews in France didn't do that, and that when he was growing up, that wasn't really an option, that in France it's all about academics, and you can maybe pick one sport or art to focus on, but usually that's only the kids who get very serious about that thing. And I was remembering my childhood full of activities that were mostly very accessible through my public school. That I did the track team for a very short while, and the cross-country team for a much longer time, and played the viola in the orchestra, and did musicals, and the competitive speech team. And I was thinking, wow, this is something I think is very valuable that we do in our country, that we value sports. Sometimes maybe almost a little too much we value sports in education, but still, that we value sports and that we value the arts and that we don't only focus on academics. I think that's good. As I was remembering fondly these many activities I did, I also was thinking about how it was a time when I had the most practice in making sure I didn't get my hopes up. I was a very avid believer in not getting my hopes up as a young person, and I had a superstitious belief that if I could be convinced that I would not do whatever it is I hoped, that I would not, make it into the chamber orchestra or get cast in the play or make the time I wanted in cross country or get to the finals in speech team. If I could be sure I wouldn't get the thing, then that's when I could get the thing. And looking back, I think it was a lot more about just avoiding disappointment and protecting my ego. If I told myself and everyone else that I knew I wasn't going to succeed, then if I didn't succeed, okay, well, I told you so. And if I did succeed, then wow, what a fun surprise. Nobody wants to go into the morning of gifts hoping that you're going to get the Turbo Racer Lightning 5000 and open a pair of socks. Nobody wants to have your sights set on the best outcome and then fall short. But the first lesson about hope as a gift is that to receive the gift of hope, we have to practice acceptance, meaning accepting that there is a lot about reality that we just cannot control, meaning allowing ourselves to experience the full range of emotions from excitement and anticipation to disappointment and envy. So that's one type of refusal of acceptance, the pessimism that can protect your heart or in some cases your ego. And then there's a different protective mechanism that actually looks more like optimism, the one that says every time, next time will be different. And that's one that I find hard to give up as well. So for me, this actually happens a lot when it comes to occasions for gift giving, which is why I thought of the hope and gift as a mixed bag immediately when I thought of this concept. The thing is, I love giving gifts, and I also hate giving gifts. I don't know if you can relate. I, of course, love giving gifts when I can pick out something and it's just like perfect for that person, and you think, oh, I didn't even know that they made this particular item, and it's so ideal. I also love giving gifts when I can make something personal or homemade. One of my favorite gift-giving moments was in the pre-vaccination lockdown phase of the pandemic. I made a cranberry pie for my parents, and I froze it solid and packaged it up in a special container and shipped it to Illinois, where they live, so they could have it for Thanksgiving dinner, which they pointed out was really absurd. But it gave me such joy to know that though we could not be physically near each other, I could send them a pie. And at the same time, I hate giving gifts because, well, there's 3 reasons. One is that gifts are usually related to some event, and events usually happen on dates, specific ones, meaning you're supposed to have the gift by the specific date, which I routinely fail at. I am really, really bad at thinking ahead enough to realize that, okay, that date is coming, and so if you want to mail a thing or order a thing or make a thing that you then order and mail, you gotta get going. The second reason is I'm often daunted by the enormity of possibilities when it comes to gifts. It's, again, a beautiful and terrible thing, what computer technology has done to our culture, and we can buy people almost anything you can think of and many things you've never thought of, and where are we supposed to begin with that? The third one is that I always want a gift to be either meaningful or useful, maybe even both. Something that the person either feels like, oh, that's great, they really know me, or where they think, oh my gosh, I needed that. And I don't know why, but I kind of feel like I'm cheating if I actually ask the person what they want, or even sometimes when I ask another person, like my parents are really good at telling my brother and I what we should get the other parent for holidays and birthdays, which is appreciated, but also always feels a little like I'm cheating. Like, oh yeah, Dad told me you wanted this specific book, here it is. So, but it's really item number 1, the timeline, that I always tell myself will be different next time. Next time it's Mother's Day and my dad's birthday, because they always come together. He has a May 12th birthday. Next time it's Mother's Day and my dad's birthday, I'm gonna remember and I'm gonna send things in advance. I'm gonna do it. Next time household birthday season begins, which stretches from early September to mid-October, I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna plan it out. It's a hard habit to let go of in general. Personally, I am forever tweaking my personal systems for managing tasks and remembering and calendars and all of that. I've shared this before. I have a lot of different systems and a lot of different apps and practices because it's such a challenge for me personally, and I think a challenge for many of us. And though it's been so many years, it's so tempting. Every time I get some new system or app or something, I think, this is it. This is gonna crack the case. This is gonna solve it. And finally, I think I'm starting to let go and finally starting to accept that I'm never gonna crack the code. There's not gonna ever be any app that actually fixes this problem, but that, in a non-linear fashion, I am consistently improving my track record in meeting timelines and deadlines. Whether it's remembering to move my laundry from the washer to the dryer, or whether it's remembering the parishioner deadline, with many apologies to Brenda and Carla for all the years gone by, I think I'm improving. But, still far from perfect. And so what I've learned to do is treat these moments of improvement when I get the new system and it works for a little while, to just embrace the temporary win with gratitude and ride it out as long as it lasts, which sometimes is like 2 weeks, and that's kind of a bummer, but other times it's years. I think I'm on about 7 years of my budgeting app, which I've talked about before. I love it so much. It's called You Need a Budget. I'm not paid to say that, but I do just love it. And while I have had a period of deleting the app in despair, I'm on a multi-year kick with Finch, which is a self-care app where you can earn points to buy a bird little outfits. If you like to buy digital birds little outfits, I would recommend it to you, or maybe your children. And that's the second lesson about the gift of hope, which is to treat it with gratitude. That we have to accept that there is so much we cannot control, and we have to be grateful when there is a win, even if it's a small win, a temporary win, or a win that's still far from what we truly want. I've been really experiencing this gratitude lately. The Immigration Justice Network I'm a part of, that many of you are quite familiar with, we are a network of volunteers who have a bond fund. We use the money to bond people out of immigration jail. And we also have done a lot of other things with our funds over the years. And we've had incredible luck as a bond fund. Many bond funds routinely run out of money and have to temporarily pause operations, and we've basically never had to do that. But recently, we did have to pause some of the other ways we use our funds. We had these little mini family grants we would give to families of loved ones who'd, if their loved one had been arrested and put into immigration jail. And we also would send a small amount of funds to people's countries of origin when they were deported, so they would have a little something when they arrived. And we had to stop doing that in order to focus on the bonds because the demand was increasing and our funds were running out, which had to do with the vast number of people that we were supporting because of the increase of enforcement, as well as the fact that bonds had sort of been taken away, but now we're coming back. And so we put the call out to our network saying, hey, look, we really need some funds, and the money began pouring in. And there was one particular donation that was extremely meaningful to me, and to understand why, I'll have to tell you a brief story. When we started this network, it was a lot of millennials like me who were very sort of motivated to do something during the first Trump regime. And a lot of the network formed based on people who met up at an interfaith gathering. And at this gathering, there was one particular woman who I just immediately found trustworthy. And I don't know why. It was just a gut instinct, like this one. And it turned out that Sarah Kianowski was really the only, initially, the only non-millennial who was part of our leadership team. And I really admire her for sticking with all of us crazy young kids who had no idea what we were doing. And she was such a consistent part of our team, always kind of keeping us steady and providing wisdom. And we also called her the white woman whisperer because she was so good at helping some of our really well-meaning but sometimes a little confused or unintentionally, a little condescending volunteers and just helping them understand our role. And when Sarah was diagnosed with cancer and had to step back from our team, I was devastated. I felt like we'd lost our group's mom, even though she was a bit younger than my parents and I'm a bit older than her young adult children. I felt like, how could we do this work without her grace and her wisdom and her ability to just make us feel like it was gonna be okay. But we did carry on, and she carried on too, much longer than many people expected. And when we'd circle back to ask how could we support her on her journey, she would tell us, give me something useful to do. Let me do some task that I can help with the network. Even months before she died, she was helping with beyond administrative tasks. And days before she died, when it was clear the end was coming, her husband reached out to us to make sure that he would be handling a returned bond check properly, because he said the last thing we want is for the Department of Homeland Security to get this money back. What do I need to do legally so that we can get the money transferred back to you? And so while we were in this place of low funds and raising money, I saw an email from Frank, from Sarah's husband, that said that he had given us $25,000 in Sarah's honor. That gift meant so much to me. It was not what I wanted. I wanted Sarah back. But the $25,000 got multiple people free from cages they didn't belong in. And that was pretty good, too. And that was not the only incredibly generous gift we received. In fact, just a couple days ago, the person who manages our bond fund reported receiving in the mail a $50,000 anonymous gift. We don't even know who gave that money. And so I think that that is astounding. The generosity of people who trust us with their funds, who give away their money so that someone they've never met can get out of jail. It's a miracle, which is why I'm sharing it here with you all and why I made sure that we sent a note out to the network explaining how much money people had generously poured in after we had sounded the alarm on our low funds. Because while we often handle the money pretty quietly, I realized it's so important for people to know, to share that gift of hope. And I think that's the third lesson of hope as a gift, is to embrace reciprocity and pass it along. In what anthropologists call gift culture, reciprocity is a vital aspect, that gifts are given and received, that there's a flow of generosity through the community. That's what makes it work. And we can participate in this flow too, especially when it comes to hope. We can share good news, though not the AI-generated heartwarming content on social media. Watch out for that. We can share gratitude and model acceptance and be a hope amplifier in our communities, so that the normal, everyday hope can thrive. Because that's the kind that we need. Not the exhilarating sense that anything is possible that is felt only rarely, like when you get a home computer or elect a progressive black man from your own home state to be the president, or when you get that super turbo 5,000 that you wanted. You probably have your own memories of those moments in your life, and they are wonderful memories to cherish. Those times when it feels like everything is possible. But the more consistent hope is the hope of accepting that we will continue to experience defeats and disappointments, grief and pain, and instead of clenching up to avoid it or wallowing in it, just allowing it. Allowing our mixed bag of pain and joy. And if our mixed bag is far more pain than joy right now, remembering that it will not be forever, that this too will morph and change, and we are always held in love. So when there is a joy, a win, an improvement, a kindness, we lean into gratitude. Receive these gifts, even if they are not exactly what we wanted. Cultivating the wonder and humility that we can, and passing the gift along. Regifting that hope with wild and generous abandon. Saying yes to life. I invite you to join me in our closing hymn. Just as long as I have breath, it is number 6. In your cloth-bound or gray hymnal. In this season of sacred waiting, of the not yet and the expectation, may we give and receive that gift of hope, that ordinary, everyday, mixed bag hope, where we keep saying over and over, in this broken and beautiful world, yes to life.